let's go down to another one, and that is analyzing population and demographic patterns at state, county, census tract, and block group scales. Now, this is another, I think, powerful but easily implemented tool. So, for example, if we have a data set, which is easily accessible from the Living Atlas of the World, by the way. You've got 2020 census data and also the American Community Survey data at multiple scales. So let's say we symbolize each one of these layers on the same variable. For example, the percentage of population, the total population 18 years and older. Okay, so we can look at different states and we can see, okay, 78% of Wisconsin, 78% of Illinois, according to this data set in 2020, were over 18, but look at West Virginia, you've got almost 80% there. So a little bit of an older population there. So you can zoom out and zoom in at different scales. Okay, so that's the state level. But what if we go in a little bit and we turn on the county level data? Okay, now we see a different pattern. The states have a certain pattern, right? The choropleth maps mask out some of these regional variations. But if you zoom into the county level and talk to your students about why does it vary between urban areas and rural areas, why do you have a variation across the Midwest and then moving out to the Mountain West, why do you have a younger population over here in the Colorado Front Range where I am, and so on. So you've got this scale situation going on. Okay, let's turn off the counties and now let's go to the census tract level. Again, same variable where we've got the percent of population that's over 18. And you can do this for any variable, right? You could look at home ownership, you could look at other variables. I'm just looking at one variable here just to see the differences between states, counties, census tracts, and block groups. But you can use any variable, and you've got a whole boatload of these to consider that you have at your fingertips with ArcGIS Online and the data sets that are data as services. So now we're looking at the Chicagoland area, and I can see right away, if only we had a legend. We do, look, it's inside ArcGIS Online. We've got a lot of capability here. So you can see some older neighborhoods in the north side and also along the lakefront, and some of the younger neighborhoods over here on the southwest side of the city and so on, and some of the suburbs as well. Look at some of these suburbs. Fascinating to be able to do this. Okay, so even in Chicago, you've got a couple neighborhoods where there's a little bit of a deviation. And for example, here you've got a couple of university neighborhoods. For example, DePaul University, North Park, etc. So you can see some variations across a metro area. Other things that pull up or pull down a median age of the population and affect this percentage that we're looking at here. So now we're looking at the census tract level, but as I hinted at earlier, you've also got the block group data, so we can go ahead and look at block groups, and now we see certain patterns emerge at the block group scale that we maybe didn't see at the census tract level. Fascinating to be able to do this. And again, this is USA Census data. You can do this for some other countries in the world depending on the data availability, but right here, looking at 4 different levels of geography and seeing the patterns, the relationships and trends perhaps differing or somewhat being the same at different scales. I think it's fascinating to be able to do this. So that was the block group level. Here's the census tracts once again, and then we're going to go ahead and turn on the county level data here and turn off the census tracts and the block groups, and we'll turn on counties. Fascinating. Now, if you don't see counties, for example, you might have to adjust the properties. There's a properties here where you can see what the visible range is. You can tweak this visible range inside ArcGIS Online. So if you don't see counties, for example, if I slide it over here and zoom around, I'm not going to see the counties at a certain level of detail, just because, look, I'm looking at the, I've got to turn on the county level. So if we go over here, once again, see if we slide that bar, I'm not seeing it, but I have to make sure that little black triangle is between the upper and lower ends of the visible range. So if I'm in between there, I'm going to be able to see this layer. If I don't, it's because I need to widen that a little bit. So, okay, so we've got the county level data, and then what about the state level data? If we go ahead and turn off the county level data and then go to the state level data, and again, I've got to figure out, the visible range, remember that? So, okay, now I've got the state level data. So it's just fascinating to be able to do this at multiple scales. Now, this is our second example. We best move on. Okay, the third way is with river systems. So, for example, if